Applied linguistics. Applied linguistics identifies, investigates, and offers solution to language-related real-life problems. So it's concerned with the systematic study of language structures. So it studies different structures of different languages, starting from the sound, going up to the discourse, or going up to further interdisciplinary branches of linguistics. The acquisition of first and subsequent languages. So it's a very important aspect of applied linguistics. So it interacts with psycholinguistics to know how do we learn first language and how do we learn second language or more than other two languages. So it discusses very important issues. So the role of language in communication. When we get our messages across, how do we do this task is very important to understand. So applied linguistics help us understand what it takes place to convey messages. The status of language as the product of particular cultures and other social groups. Obviously, language is used by people, and people belong to different groups, different cultures. Even within the same culture, there are certain groups, right? So in applied linguistics, we study that how different groups use language and how the use of language differs from group to group and how it is different. Develops a strong foundation in the structure of language and its role in communication. So it determines what is the structure of a certain language and then determines what is the role of communication. How does language do its function in communication? So gain practical knowledge through clinical observation. Through clinical observation mean when pathologists, linguists, or other people whose basic job is or profession is to study how language is used. So applied linguistics help them to understand different shades of language, different problems of language, and how to solve these problems. So a background in linguistics is essential for language teachers, translators, speech language pathologists, audiologists, and many other language professionals. So as I said, it's very important for language teacher. Language teachers need to have a very good grasp of linguistics and its interdisciplinary area like applied linguistics. So unless they know that how do we learn language, they cannot perform their function very well. For example, as language teachers, we find our students making mistakes. So unless we know that what it is that involves making mistakes, we cannot be good teachers, or we cannot suggest our students to eradicate their mistakes. So it's very important for language teachers, translators. Obviously, people translate things from one language to another. They need to understand how it takes place, how language is used. So they may know the grammar, they may know the semantics, but even the language use is also there. The pragmatics is there. Speech language pathologists who try to examine the disorder of language in people. Audiologists who record language for discussion purpose and for research, and many other language professionals. Major branches of applied linguistics include bilingualism and multilingualism. Obviously, we in Pakistan use language as bilinguist. For example, we use Urdu, Punjabi, even English. So multilingualism also involves using language more than two languages, and sometimes it also refers to use one language for the internal purposes and one for the external purposes, like having some lingua franca. Conversational analysis, how do people communicate with other. Contrastive linguistics, how two languages are studied. Sign linguistics, sign languages studied in applied linguistics. Language assessment, how do we assess language of a certain individual or a group of people. And literacies, how people read and write is understood in this discipline. And then interlinguistics, interlinguistic mean phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics and pragmatics. Stylistics, the relationship of language with literature. Pragmatics, language use, how language is used. Forensic linguistic, the use of language to determine the evidence in certain cases, where language can be very helpful to determine the evidence, maybe in a court of law. Translation, when we are translating studies. Applied linguistics is concerned with practical issues involving language in the life of the community. So we have discussed so many professions, so many fields of knowledge in which applied linguistics helps people to understand their problems, their mental concerns. The most important of these is the learning of second or foreign languages. We have already discussed. So linguistics and applied linguistics is a challenging and stimulating discipline, offering many opportunities for original work. So this branch of linguistics is very helpful in understanding human language, and it's a challenging field that enables us to identify, to investigate, and to offer solution to human problems.